Okay, everyone, I'm super excited for the interview today. I have Mr. Troy Hilliard coming in from New Zealand. And Troy, it's your second time on the show. So, how are you doing today, my man?
Yeah, real good. Great to be back. It's been good two to 3 years, I think, since we were last on.
Yeah.
But great to be back.
Yeah, man, your episode is like literally top three for people requesting it. It's still getting downloaded actively. I was checking our numbers. So you dropped some gold nuggets on our listeners when our podcast was like really tiny, just getting going. We connected on LinkedIn and now it's bigger, man. There's more listeners. So I don't want to put the pressure on you too much, man. But if you deliver anyway, like you did in the first round, man, where the listeners are in for a treat. So let's just dive in, man. I love setting context first of all, because I think it'll frame up our conversation just of the level of business that you are playing at. I find one inspiring and two quite fascinating, man. So tell us kind of your role right now. And like the first time you were on, man, you didn't hold any punches. You're just like, this is what we're doing. So I just love how matter of
Yep.
fact you are. So to kind of tell us a bit more about what you're doing right now.
Yep. So obviously the business started in 2015 with a house and building wash company, Washrite. We quickly grew that into a franchise brand that today has 31 franchises across two countries, about 115 trucks on the road today.
Wow.
And it will probably do about $7, $8 million a month in revenue.
Wow.
So
A
that's
month.
a month. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Now that business obviously then led us into starting another franchise brand called Lawn Road that does lawn mowing, garden care, pretty standard type of lawn mowing franchise you'll see all around the world. Today we've got about 155 franchisees just in New Zealand on that brand.
Okay.
We've got another brand called the Handyman Group, does handyman building renovations. We've got about 17 or 18 franchises on the road today. That's our newest brand. And
Okay.
then we've got another one called Hallmark Services that do commercial cleaning and carpet cleaning. And there's about 69 franchisees under that brand.
Man.
So that's about the scale of, I guess, the franchise home services business.
Yeah.
And we've just taken Washrite back to, I guess, my home country, back into Australia
Yeah.
last month. So that's where we have the second country where we operate the Washrite brand from.
Man, you're like the Brian Scudamore of like New Zealand and Australia, man. That can you do the math? You rattled off the franchises. That would be hundreds and
Yep.
hundreds of what's the number there? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's about 250 franchisees
Wow.
working every day, basically.
It's amazing, man. 250 franchisees across four divisions, all in home services and all under your sign behind you, the right group.
Yeah, exactly. And it's done very much on purpose that way. We run what we call the one customer model, where cost of acquisition is a big part of our, I guess, our business. And if we have a customer under one brand, it's a lot easier for us and cheaper for us to remarket the other brands to that one customer than going
Mhm.
out and getting four new customers. So
Yeah.
it's very much a whole ecosystem that the business runs under. And we share
Yeah.
a lot of our own technology, a lot of our customers, a lot of our head office people work across all the brands instead of just one.
It's brilliant, man. So basically, for a customer, if they're going in and having wash right come in to pressure wash the driveway, you can also have your lawn group come in and do lawn services as well. And even, oh, we've got a squeaky door
Mm.
hinges and we need a new this put in. Well, let's call up the handyman brand.
Yeah, exactly. So the residential customer knows they've got one phone call to make, and
Mhm.
90% of their problems can be solved by making that one phone call to that one phone number.
Yeah.
And it just allows us to scale our business much faster and much cheaper. But then,
Yeah.
from a commercial point of view, commercial contracts, either nationally or regionally,
Mhm.
don't want to deal with hundreds of service providers. So, if they can shrink that down to one or two providers that can provide multiple services,
Yeah.
that's more preferential to them as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. So your whole business model is designed around the customer and just making their life easier. One call to make, and like you said, 90% of stuff is handled.
Yeah, definitely. Like the big misconception with my business is a lot of people think that I'm in the exterior cleaning or the lawn mowing industry. I'm not. There's two industries that I'm involved in. One's the business opportunity industry. selling
Mhm.
franchises. And then the other one's the lead generation industry. So they're the two factors to my business that I look after. Now, my franchisees are in the exterior cleaning industry and the lawn mowing industry.
Yeah.
But for me, it comes down to, targeting, business acquisition for franchisees and then
Mhm.
lead generation to get them enough work to make them profitable.
Wow. And there's probably a pretty strong coaching component you'd have too, right? Like coaching, because you're really instilling confidence and systems and branding into franchisees. Do you mind talking on, it fascinates me, man, the scale you're playing at, but how does the coaching fit in for helping your franchisees?
Yeah, definitely. So with a new franchisee, we have a saying that we stand them up and then wrap them up. So
Nice.
we stand them up as people, we give them the tools, the guidance, experience, the branding, the uniforms, and then we send them out there. Now, once they're working, every franchisee is different. They all have different problems. You might have a franchisee who might have a problem with converting leads. So you're there diving into their conversion, their sales, how they communicating and building relationships with the customer. You may have another guy on the other side that has just been caught having an affair with his wife, and his
Mhm.
personal life is a dumpster fire,
Yeah.
and that's affecting his business. So you are
Yeah.
trying to sort out that dumpster fire to get
Wow.
the
Yeah.
business right.
Yeah.
So it varies dramatically, and with the scale that we have, it's a different problem every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet, man. You said 8 million bucks a month is what the brand's doing.
Yeah, well, wash right. That's its
Just the wash rate.
monthly revenue. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So you're running a 100 million plus organization here with all your brands, maybe even multi-hundred.
Yeah, definitely. Group wide revenue would be at that level, definitely.
It's amazing, man.
Definitely not my revenue, but group wide
Yeah.
revenue it would be
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, just so we're clear, the franchisees are executing all the revenue, and then your group would be charging a royalty fee or for the license, basically. That's how franchising works. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Different brands have different revenue models, and so do we. So not one revenue model is the same for all our four brands.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, a franchise will take around 7 to 8% of the
Hmm.
franchisee's revenue for all their fees.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and that's pretty standard in the home service type, service trade type franchise networks.
Yeah.
And then it's just up to the franchisee to provide value at or above that level.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. So I'm curious, Troy, on the overall strategy. Like if you rewind back to 2014, you're getting this thing going. What was the big choice to go the frank? Because there's pros and cons, and you're gonna have owner operators listening is getting inspired right now, seeing what you did, and they're thinking multi-location. Do I hire a territory manager and keep it all corporately owned, or do I go with franchisees? What was the push for you to go? We're going to go a franchise route. I'm curious your mindset with that.
For me, in the early days, I just read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which everyone's probably read. And they talk about the cash flow quadrant and how you want to get to the investor stage
Yeah.
of that quadrant. For me, I was a little bit greedy and I thought, well, instead of just being the investor, how can I make money out of all four quadrants at the same time?
Wow.
And then when I looked into it, the franchising industry was literally the only business model I could find that would allow me to do that there. And then for me, it was just trying to find the service that would provide that, I guess, lifestyle that I wanted, and then just went
Mhm.
full into that, the
Yeah.
exterior cleaning market, which was I had the idea to have a multi-brand business, but I knew that the exterior cleaning had the margins to cash flow the other ones, which were more of a volume game instead of a margin game.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then that decided which one we would do first.
It's
But
amazing.
then for me, it comes down to just dollars and cents. To give you an example, let's say we've got about, I think, 115 or 117 trucks on the road today.
Mhm.
Each truck cost about $65,000 to put on the road.
Okay.
What's that? $7.5 million.
Yep.
The only money I've ever had invested into my business is $1,829. So 2000,
1,829. Amazing.
yeah. So $2,000 is basically the only thing I've ever invested out of my own pocket into this business. So
Wow.
Franchising allows me to take the franchisee's capital to grow the business.
Because they will pay upfront to buy a territory and then they'll pay an ongoing royalty fee.
Yeah, correct. And their upfront cost will cover the cost of their first truck on the road. Yeah. So it allows me to scale with very little of my own, cash on the line. Yeah. So that was probably the biggest reason because, 2015, I didn't have, I guess, the available cash flow that I have today. Sure. So that for me was the big aspect, fast, rapid growth without taking on any debt at all.
Man, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, you're more versed in this than I am, but I feel like most franchisors do not supply like a vehicle kitted out, ready to go with the initial franchise fee. Is that correct to say? Like that's unique.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we have a turnkey model. So it doesn't matter which brand you buy from us, they come as a turnkey model. So with WashRite, the purchase price would include a late model truck, fully kitted out, fully sign written. Everything's included. We uniforms, business cards, flyers. We even fly you to our location, put you in a hotel for 2 weeks, do 2 weeks full-time training. And then when we send you back to your territory, we even pay for your fuel to drive your truck back home. And
wow, it's fully covered.
Fully covered, even to the point that we don't charge you any fees for the first 3 months, and that's to get you out working and get the cash flow coming back in before you have to pay anything out.
Wow, because you're seeing a big vision, man, that a successful franchisee can stay with the group for multiple decades is probably how you're thinking, hey?
Yeah, definitely. So we are literally coming up to right now the first round of franchise renewals through our WashRite franchisees. So I think at the moment we've had 3 come up for a renewal and 3 have renewed. So it's about long-term consistency, but also understanding that a franchisee may be with you for 3 years, 13 years, or 30 years. And for us, the goal is to get as much value out of them, but then to also add as much value so they have a large amount of capital gain in their franchise. So when they sell it, they're selling it for many hundreds of thousands that they may have only paid 60 to 80,000 for.
Totally. Yeah, they can get a good return. You know what's funny, Troy? I was in a painting franchise for almost 10 years. And tell me your experience, but for what I saw as a franchisee, it was a standard bell curve, right? So they'd actually rank our sales numbers on this portal at the time, which before technology and home services, it was like 2014. And you'd see your name up in lights, right? For all of Canada, I think there's a time I was in second spot, right? And but then I could be at 400,000 in book jobs, and there's other people that can't get anyone in their market. And I always just found it fascinating that we're all operating the same system, but some are shining stars and some just can't put in the work. Do you see that as well? Like the high flyers and everything in between? I'm curious, like the spread of success you see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've nailed it down to over the years it's the franchisee's personality, which is the biggest factor to their success. Wow. And from what I've learned over the years is in business, relationships are the key. I mean, if you don't have the relationships with the right people, or you don't have the ability to build them, you're gonna struggle. So we have definitely found that their personality is the biggest factor to their success. And with our WashRite brand, we're pretty blessed that we've probably got, I'd say, a good 65% of that are high achievers. Nice. And then we've probably only got 1 or 2 franchisees who I probably hope don't renew their franchise agreement when it comes up for renewal. Sure. But they are the minority in the WashRite brand, the lawn mowing sector. I guess the quality of franchisees that are attracted to that are probably not as high as exterior cleaning. And definitely see that that factor. And I always talk about, I have 2 franchisees in Auckland. These 2 guys are identical. And what I mean by identical, they have the same name, same first name, same last name. They look very similar. They're both from India. They're both from the same village in India. They both went to high school together. They both brought their franchise at the same time, and their regions are side by side. Everything's the same. One guy probably does around $3,500 to $4,000 a week mowing lawns. The other
Yeah.
guy struggles to do $1,000 a week.
All other
The
factors
quality
the same.
the quality of workmanship is exactly the same.
Mhm.
The only difference is the guy who barely does $1,000 a week is very introverted. So
Mm.
he turns up to a job, puts his head down, doesn't talk to anyone, does the job and leaves. Where the
Yeah.
guy who does say $3,000 or $4,000 a week, he's very outgoing. He'll talk to the homeowner, have a chat, build relationships, does a great job,
Yeah.
but then leaves. And then we do a deep dive in. We find out that the guy who's talkative gets a lot more referrals and recommendations, and
Yeah.
the business does just snowballs, where the introverted guy doesn't.
So interesting, man. I always say, like, it was when I was on the tools getting Revive going, my cleaning business. I would say you got to linger on the job site once it's done, right? You're looking around, you see a neighbor, you give a card, you go ask for a review, you go knock doors. Like, you got to be, we call it in Canada and US, heads up, seven up. Like, you just head on a swivel, looking around. So it's interesting that you see that, man. Like, I'm sure you do this, but I'm just thinking for us at HSBC, I'm like, we should be like doing personality profiles on prospects coming in, because you're like, man, this person doesn't, not that they're a bad person, they just don't measure well for this opportunity. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. Some people are built for business, some people are built for employment.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with either one of those. Employees need business owners and business owners need employees. I think the biggest injustice you could do is lie to someone and tell them they're going to be a successful business owner or entrepreneur when they're
Yeah.
just not cut out for it. All
Yeah.
they're going to do is, burn their money, get upset, get disgruntled with you, and no one's going to have a happy ending to that business relationship. So for us, we are very big on being very honest to the point that sometimes it's brutal. And I had that phone call yesterday with a young gentleman who wanted a lawn mowing franchise, and the first 10 minutes of the conversation, all he wanted to know was what sort of minimum guarantee I'd provide him. And it
Yeah.
was kind of like all he cared about was the minimum guarantee, the minimum guarantee. And
Yeah.
I just said, hey, great conversation, but I'm going to end it here. I don't think you're suitable to join us. We're not the right company for you, and you're definitely not the right personality to be joining us. And
Yeah.
just cut the conversation off there, because he's the type of person that he's not going to work hard and go through the grind and actually build a successful business. He just wants to sit there on the minimum guarantee
Yeah.
and get paid for as little as possible.
Yeah, man, you don't want the, like, you probably dodged the bullet there, all the best with his ventures, but you look at, you went into business, I went into business for myself, our entrepreneur friends that are successful did. There's no guarantee, man. Like, and that's exhilarating to some degree. You started this business with $1,900, man. There's no guarantee. And look what you've been able to build. So I think we even see it. It's funny, there's so many parallels, Troy, but for us, we have no, it's very normal to have a guarantee in the coaching space. We don't do one, man, because like you get the worst clients that are looking for that easy path to entrepreneurship that just doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely no easy path, and I see a lot of similarities between, I guess, my business and, the home service business coach, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, our both goal is to get the best out of the person that we have.
Yeah.
Now, the person who comes to us may not be the best franchisee or the best business owner that God's ever created, but we have to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's lots of similarities. Even I would assume a lot of what you teach is very similar to what the franchising industry teaches the franchisees.
Yeah.
About systems and processes and guidelines and
Yeah.
branding and customer acquisition, customer retention.
Yeah.
Very similar.
I want to talk about that, man. You're a beast. We're gonna link up your links, man. But I think probably a great place for people to follow what you're doing is on your personal LinkedIn. I think you do a great job keeping everyone up to date. But I want to talk about those scalable systems. Like, when you talk to a franchisee coming on, what are a few key systems you're like, this and this are A priorities that you should get locked in on your business. Because the listeners listening in with their own brands will just find a host of gold in what you're about to say.
Yeah, definitely one of the big ones that I'd recommend is your social media and your marketing. And the reason for that there is most of it's free. And it doesn't matter if you're a business my size who has quite a large marketing budget or you're a one-man operator, you know, your access to social media is the same to me as it would be the same to like a Brian Scudamore in Canada. So having a system and a process for your social media is very important. You know, working out through analytics, you know, when's your ideal customer online? What are they searching? How are they searching? And then how you can cater your content to that customer. That's a big one for us there because it's free, it's cheap, and it's, you know, accessible to anybody. So we do a lot of training with our new franchisees around social media. The next big one is around customer retention. You know, we spend many thousands of dollars every day on customer acquisition. And then for us, it's extremely important how we can retain that customer and what the lifetime value of that customer is. Because as I said, once you've got a customer, it's cheaper to retain them than to go out and try and find and acquire a whole new customer. So, you know, we do a lot of work around our CRM, our franchise management system, and making sure the franchisees understand the importance of what they put into that system, then adds value to that system. You know, if they're not taking the right time and getting the right email address or the right cell number or the right address, then that information becomes corrupted for our marketers to try and remarket that person or to, you know, keep, you know, drip feeding them communications over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, man, that data is huge. Like accurate record keeping, I think. And again, it's hard. You're out on site. It's hot. It's rainy. We get all kinds of crazy weather here in Canada. But when you have that accurate data, it's not just that transaction. It's, man, we have people, we use Jobber for our CRM, but we have people we've had records since 2017, man, like that we're still contacting and they're booking in. And it's just like crazy lifetime value.
Yeah, definitely. And there's software out there like Jobber that can make your daily tasks so much easier through just automations. But Jobber's only as great as information that goes into it. And if you don't put the right information in it, all that amazing technology that softwares like Jobber have becomes worthless. And we've learned that over the years that, you know, when we first started franchising, we would have a bounce rate on our email blasts going out of up to 15%. And when we started, look, why are they bouncing? And they're bouncing because, you know, the franchisee's putting in, you know, wrong characters or they're misspelling something. And obviously, yeah, your conversion rate just drops with your email not even going through.
Yeah, 100%. So we got social media, that's free. We've got client retention by way of good records, you know, emailing them on drip campaigns, texting. Do you have another like key system, Troy, or like, yeah, that's really important a franchisee locks this in?
Yeah, definitely. Probably the next big one for me would be I would go along the branding lines. You know what I mean? For us, branding is everything. You know, our third largest client acquisition channel where they found us is they've seen our trucks, seen our vans, seen our operators walking around the streets in their uniforms. So we go through a whole process around basically, you know, monthly vehicles get checked. Are the vehicles compliant? Are the wraps still in good condition? Are they, there's no damage? Uniforms. You know, we try and get our franchisees to go through a process where every month they're buying new uniforms. Now, they're not buying all new uniforms, but they might buy a new shirt, a new pair of shorts, per month, and they might have 8-9 staff. So every month, someone's getting something new. So by after 2 years, no one's walking around in old, bleached, faded shirts and shorts, and everything looks somewhat new or crisp. And that image is what stands out for the customers compared to the guy who turns up in just a pair of tracksuit pants with bleach stains all over them and holes in them. So just trying to get the franchisees to understand the value in the brand and the value in keeping the brand as it was when they first started.
Totally. That's a huge one, man. I'm curious, big picture for a franchisee you're coaching, do you have a sweet percent of revenue you recommend they actually invest into marketing? Like you said, social media is cheap. Drip campaigns are cheap. Branding can be done on the cheap, but to get new uniforms and get your truck looking good,
Yep.
it costs some money. What percent do you usually find as a coach? You're like, this is a good spot to be in.
So from, I guess, a head office level, when I audit the accounts of our franchisees, for me, it's a warning sign if I don't see 5% of total revenue go
Yeah,
on advertiser marketing branding. I think that 7% is around that sweet spot in the
yeah,
home services sector. But for me,
yeah.
5% is where I go, hey, what's going on? And
Nice.
sometimes there's very valid, valid reasons why they're not hitting 5%. It could be the
Yeah,
year before they paid 2 years of sponsorship for the local rugby or soccer club.
sure.
And then, they incurred the cost last year, but the sponsorship actually covers 2 years.
Yeah.
But minimum of 5%, target 7%. We take, with WashRite, we'll take 1% off them for advertising marketing, and we spend that there.
Oh, nice.
Um, and we allow them to spend the minimum of the other 4% themselves. Now, if a franchisee consistently doesn't spend anywhere near that, we have the ability to up that marketing fee, and we'll take the whole 5% off them if they
Yeah,
don't spend it and spend it for them.
yeah.
But we want to leave a lot, if not a majority of that control in their local hands, because
Cool.
who knows better to how to advertise in their local community than the person who actually lives in that local community.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so much
Yeah.
that can get done. Like you said, sponsor a T-ball team. You could literally get some magnets on your personal car. You can put, man, I've got a sign up in my front lawn advertising my company. Like there's so many things you can do from just a community perspective. You can volunteer. You can even donate some money to a special cause. There's no end what you can do for marketing. So I love that, man. Great coaching, by the way. 5% minimum, get around 7. And if you want, I talked to Tommy Mello, he says you should be spending at least 10, right? It just, everyone's got kind of their sweet spot, but I think you're
Yep.
you're like me, man. I always like to say 5 to 7 is like sweet, but if we're gonna go crazy growth, like yeah, you probably want to be going 10, and that just comes out of net profit. It says, hey, instead of making 20%, I'll make 15 because I'm gonna chuck another 5 into marketing, and that's all good too. Everyone's got different goals when it comes to timeline of their growth.
Yeah, definitely. And we always found that our higher performers are at least 7. Seven's almost like their minimum for the
Nice.
higher performers. But then, I guess once you're at our level, if you look at, let's say there's 115 trucks on the road today, each truck will at least do 2 jobs.
Mhm.
Straight away, we're at 230 to 250 jobs every day,
Wow.
5 days a week, 5.5 days a week. So for us, the volume of leads that we need, our conversion rate's around 65, 67% at the moment. So,
Wow. Nice.
for us, it's a volume game. We need volume amounts of leads to keep
Yeah.
all these trucks and, everybody employed and busy.
Man, that's excellent conversion, by the way. Are you sending out franchisees to bid in person, or are you running that all through your office?
No, so national contracts or regional contracts get quoted at a head office level, but
Sure.
everything else gets quoted at a franchisee level. So
Yeah.
the franchisee has the control over the price given to the customer.
Nice.
We've quickly learned that the price for you, say that the price from Vancouver to Toronto for the same service could be vastly different.
Yeah.
And to try and standardize that there, one customer at one end is going to get probably a little bit upset
Yeah.
because the price is not what they're used to paying. So the franchisees quote their own jobs, but we have today we have about 48% of our work is a repeat customer. So the
Perfect.
franchisee just gets an email, a text, a phone call from Mary saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
can you wash my house same as last year?" He already knows the price. So it might be price plus inflation or price plus
Sure.
an annual lift.
Man, it's so funny you're saying these numbers. I'm like, we were looking at ours at Revive. Our repeat rate's 45%. Like it's just like a lot of crossover. It's funny. We live across the world from each other. I'm like, yeah, that checks out. That sounds great. I love how, lean you think about marketing too. That's awesome. I wouldn't mind transitioning, man, talk a little bit about hiring. I'm sure you see it if franchisees, they want to grow, but they get maybe stuck on the tools doing the work, and time and place for that as they scale up. But what do you see like are key coaching points in making that leap, saying, Josh, you bought a franchisee, but you're in your 4th year and you're still on the tools and you want to get off and have some flexibility and grow the business. Do you mind just talking through that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And the first employee or that second truck is always the hardest one to put on the road. The first truck we build, everything's done for you. The second truck is where you have to take the financial risk yourself to basically put on a staff member, put on a second truck, buy extra uniforms. And we start working with the franchisee about 6 months prior. So what we would normally find is that, probably unlike you guys, our winters aren't probably as quiet as yours.
Right.
But we have a stupid busy spring and summer. Like there's 3 times more work than all of our guys can ever handle. And what we start doing is we start prepping them, when they're really starting to stress out in spring and summer, how they're going to handle all this work. We start dropping the hint about another employee, another truck. Why don't you start saving money now, put money aside to cover that truck. And then what we'll do is we'll try and get them to build that second truck through winter when they've got that little bit of extra time. There's no pressure in time for the next spring.
Nice.
And then for us, we have a very close community with our franchisees. So let's use Washrope, for example. We have a Washrope franchise Facebook group where everyone's in there, and there's a lot of information sharing and guidelines. I'm not sure if the franchisees know that I know, but I know they also have private group chats outside that group that they think I can't see. That there's also a lot of information shared around that as well. So there's a lot of support from other franchisees who have been there, done that, who have put their second truck or their third truck or their fourth or their fifth on the road. And they help out the new guy. And it might be an arrangement where a larger franchisee might lease one of their old trucks to him, for 3 or 4 or 5 months as almost like a trial. So, if it doesn't work out, you can always hand the truck back. There's no major cost. But that's the big thing. You're just trying to get into the franchisee's mindset and making sure that they're as confident in themselves as we are in them.
Totally, man. And if you're giving them all the systems for growth, it just, comes down to the owner's decision. Cause that is one reason I love, associations or a franchisee group like the one you've built is like the buzzword is community, but I think it's more than community, man. It's like camaraderie, and it's almost like borrowing confidence. I know when I was getting going, I thought I had it figured out, Troy, running one crew. I made all this money in the summer, and then it was the library in college. I bumped into my buddy Josh, and he's wearing like a muscle t-shirt from, just went to the gym, and he's telling me he's got 4 crews running and someone running those crews. It was like a mind blowing, like, Dave, you're actually a tiniest fish. Like, look what Josh, and it was like, the next year, I'm like, I'm adding more crews. I want to be like Josh. So just getting in that association is like such a mindset unlock.
Yeah, definitely. For us, it's also the understanding that us, I guess, the franchisor, I guess myself, the owner, doesn't know everything. A lot of our franchisees themselves have a lot of knowledge that they can then pass on to the newer franchisees or just even other franchisees, and allowing them the freedom to, express that, pass on the knowledge and go, hey, have you tried this? Or, I've done this last month and it worked really well for me. And then just, having enough freedom in the franchise network that, the franchisor is not always right. The franchisor might have the last say, but it doesn't mean we're always right. And, it doesn't mean that we have the only idea or the only offer. And I think that's one of the good things about our network is that, we, in the group chat, I purposely try not to comment. I will sit back and leave a question hanging for a couple of days because I want to see what the other franchisees jump in and go, hey, have you done this? Have you done that? And then if there's no comment there after a day or two, that's when I'll come in and say, hey, this is what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking a lot about leadership too, Troy. I think a lot of times in business, the owner, the franchisor, they think they have all the answers, but, I think good on you, man, having that humility, saying you're still learning. At my cleaning business, one of our core values is Kaizen, which is Japanese for continuously improving, and just saying, hey, like, we don't have the answers. We want to seek counsel and hear from our team as well. Cause like, as good as Troy, like, probably some of your best franchisees in the field, like they might know in real time a bit better. I know my technicians like know a little bit better because they're out there right in front of the customer like today. So you have to listen to that, I think, as a leader.
Oh, totally. Even just the aspect of, I think in 2024, I think I washed two houses the entire year.
Yeah.
I've got franchisees that wash three houses every day, 5 days a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
So just by the numbers, they have way more experience than me these days.
Yeah.
And who am I to sit there and think that I'm the only one that knows how to wash a house or mow a lawn or
Yeah.
um,
100%.
franchisees aren't stupid. They will see through that, and
Yeah.
then they will definitely start to lose respect for you, the franchisor, and then the franchise network if you're continually, I guess, overstepping the mark when it's not needed.
Totally. Last thing I want to hit on, Troy, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to hit this, and it wasn't in our questions, man. You guys are just doing scale, right? You said like 250 jobs a day, 1,000 jobs a week. Like that's more than 1,000 bids a week, estimates we call them. What are you doing when people? Because every day I'm sure you get, your price at Wash Right is twice as much as my other bidder. It's more, and you lose jobs due to pricing. I would love to hear your mindset around owners not booking every job and where you stand with charging a higher premium price in the given market.
Yeah, definitely. So I look at our service as no difference than buying a car. Let's say you want to buy a truck as a personal car. Um, for me, I chose to buy a Chevy Silverado. Now, in New Zealand, they are stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
170, $180,000.
Is that
Um,
right? Wow.
yeah, yeah. Because it's all the import taxes,
Yeah,
conversion to right-hand drive.
sure.
But I can go out and buy a suitable truck for $35,000. But the
Mhm.
reason I chose to pay that level was because I perceived that value in that there. So it's just getting the franchisee to understand that not all customers are your customers. Some
Yeah.
customers are out there looking for the $35,000 truck. They were
Yeah.
never going to be your customers. Don't waste your time on them. Wish them well and wish them on their way. Target the customer who wants to pay the fair, reasonable price for a great service, and then just having the ability to flip that switch and not even worry about that customer, because that customer may not be your customer for many reasons. It may be they've just bought their first home, they are stretched paying the mortgage. Because let's face it, tenants aren't our customers.
Yeah.
99% of our customers are homeowners. So if they're a first home buyer, they've just bought their first home, they're probably struggling to pay their mortgage. They're not going to use us because they can't afford to use us. But that's not to say in 10 years' time, once they've got gone up a couple of runs at work, got a few pay
Sure.
rises, interest rates have come down, they can afford to now pay for the better quality exterior cleaners on their house, which is their largest asset. And then training the guys to be able to communicate with the customer that it is their largest asset. For most people, your home is your largest asset. And you want to give it the care and the respect, and give it the service providers that it deserves.
Yeah.
Um, and then just understanding that it doesn't matter who you're dealing with. If you're looking to wash their house, it's their largest asset. It could be a piece of crap in the biggest slum, but if that's their house, that's their largest asset. Or it could be $100 million mansion. That's their
Yeah.
house, their largest asset. And both people care about those two houses the same because it's
Yeah.
both their largest assets. And just being able to communicate with them on that level and portray to them that the value that you're getting. And it all comes down to value. Just like I see value in the $170,000 Chevy Silverado
Mhm.
versus a $35,000 Chinese truck that I don't
Yeah.
see value in.
Yeah. It's very well said, man. And I love how you said it in stages too, right? I think sometimes as owners, we're like, this person has no money, or, we size them up, and you get in and do an estimate and they might surprise you and say, yeah, like, when can you start? Right. And so it's like, you don't always know people's financial situation, but I think it's best to just have that proven process. We're here for this specific type of customer to solve their need. And I love that mindset too, man. Our business isn't going anywhere, and people could rise up their income level. Maybe when you started this business with 2 grand, maybe you weren't driving that 170K truck, but you've worked up now that you've built an empire, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you never know who somebody is, and you never know who somebody's going to become.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that if they're not your customer today, wish them well and wish them on their way. Be polite, be courteous, be friendly. Keep them in your database so you can still drip feed information to them over the months and years, because you never know who they are going to become or who they are today.
I love it, man. Well, Troy, this has been phenomenal, man. As I think this was better than the part one, man, and that was tough to beat. So where can the listeners? This will be on YouTube, on our channels. We'll get you tagged up on LinkedIn. In addition to LinkedIn, is there anywhere where a listener could find you or reach out to you and kind of see what you're doing? And man, we've got listeners in Australia, New Zealand, in Europe, so kind of worldwide. Where else would be good to link up with you?
Yeah, definitely Facebook or Instagram. Always open to people reaching out if they need any help or some advice. Quite often people reach out and ask me to review their website or review their marketing. So if anyone needs any help, even if you are a competitor, don't be afraid to reach out because just because you're a competitor doesn't take anything away from a relationship. So any social media, I'm on them all. Just reach out.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate your time today, Troy. Maybe we'll do a part three in the future months, man.
Definitely. And I have to catch up with you guys when I come over there next.
Sounds good, brother.
Cheers, guys.